In the ancient strata of the Earth, archaeologists continually uncover artifacts that baffle modern science. Manuscripts with unknown writing systems, containing images of strange creatures and star charts, remain undeciphered even with the use of computer analysis and neural networks. Particularly puzzling are the discoveries of human fossils more than 300 million years old found in coal seams, or metallic tools in geological layers formed long before the appearance of humans. Many of these artifacts are stored in museum reserves, hidden from the public due to their inexplicability within the framework of accepted theories. Enigmatic mechanisms with gears, dated to thousands of years before our era, stone statues depicting unknown technologies, and vanished civilizations that left behind only monumental structures challenge our understanding of human history. The legend of Atlantis, first mentioned in Plato's dialogues Timaeus and Critias in the 4th century BCE, describes a utopian civilization that flourished on a large island located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, now known as the Strait of Gibraltar. Plato claimed that Atlantis was more powerful than many known civilizations of its time and possessed advanced technologies and culture. However, according to his account, this great civilization was destroyed in a single day and night when the island was submerged. Since then, Atlantis has been the subject of numerous studies and speculations. There are several theories about the location of Atlantis. Some researchers, such as H.P. Blavatsky, suggest that Atlantis was located in the modern-day Caribbean Sea, while others, like Dr. Graham Hancock, associate it with Antarctica, believing it could have been situated under the ice cover of this continent. Other theories point to Crete or the islands of the Aegean Sea as possible locations. Archaeological research by scholars like Dr. Kostas Savas indicates that Crete was indeed the center of a highly advanced Minoan civilization that could have inspired Plato to create the myth of Atlantis. There is also a version that the myth of Atlantis could be based on real catastrophic events, such as the eruption of the volcano Santorini, which occurred around 1600 BCE and led to the destruction of the Minoan culture. However, the evidence for this connection remains controversial and unconvincing. The cultural influence of the Atlantis myth is immense and permeates literature, film, and art. Many writers, such as Jules Verne and Arthur Conan Doyle, have used the legend as a basis for their works. Scientific research on Atlantis continues, and many scholars strive to unravel the mysteries associated with this mythical civilization. Some researchers, like Dr. David Gray, analyze geological data and ancient maps to try to uncover possible evidence of Atlantis' existence. Others, like Professor Paul Crosby, challenge the very idea of Atlantis' existence, pointing to the lack of real archaeological findings that confirm its existence. Discussions about Atlantis continue, and each new finding only fuels the interest in this enigmatic civilization. There are numerous theories about the location of Atlantis, with one of the most popular focusing on the Mediterranean Sea. Researchers such as Dr. Kostas Savas and others propose that Atlantis could have been located near the island of Crete, where the Minoan civilization flourished in the 3rd millennium BCE. The Minoans built complex palaces like Knossos and possessed advanced maritime technologies, making this theory particularly intriguing. However, there are no direct archaeological evidence linking the Minoan civilization to the myth of Atlantis, as noted by archaeologist Dr. Elizabeth Weiss, Archaeological Review 2018. Concurrently, there is a hypothesis connecting Atlantis to the Atlantic Ocean. Graham Hancock, a proponent of this theory, suggests that Atlantis could have been situated on the continental shelf, now submerged, possibly in the vicinity of the Bahamas or the Florida coast. Hancock references geological studies showing that sea levels significantly changed in the past, which could have led to the submersion of entire lands. Atlantis, the lost continent finally found, 2007. Additionally, some scientists propose the location of Atlantis on the coast of North Africa, particularly in the region of modern Libya. Plato indicated that Atlantis was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which many interpret as a hint at the North African coast. Archaeologist Dr. Jose Morales believes that underwater structures found off the coast of Libya could be connected to the mythical civilization. Journal of Marine Archaeology, 2019. However, these findings require further investigation to confirm or refute their connection to Atlantis. There are also more exotic theories about the location of Atlantis in the Caribbean Sea or off the coast of Cuba. Some researchers, such as Dr. Richard Foster, believe that Atlantis could have been located on one of the Caribbean islands, for example, Cuba, where underwater structures resembling ruins were discovered. Underwater Ruins of Cuba, 2012. These theories, while intriguing, often face criticism due to the lack of serious evidence and scientific backing. Ultimately, despite numerous hypotheses, the location of Atlantis remains a mystery, and each new theory only serves to further fuel interest in this legendary civilization. According to various sources, Atlantis is associated with highly advanced technologies and achievements that, according to some researchers, could have significantly surpassed their time. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato described Atlantis as a civilization possessing incredible engineering skills and architectural achievements. For instance, many theories claim that the Atlanteans could build large cities with complex water supply and sewage systems, which is supported by archaeological findings similar to those discovered in the Minoan Knossos. Works of archaeologist Arthur Evans, early 20th century. Some hypotheses suggest that the Atlanteans also had the ability to create flying machines that could utilize anti-gravity technologies. Researcher and writer Chuck West claims that such machines could function using crystalline energy. Book Lost Technologies of Atlantis, 2008. Although this sounds fantastical, ancient Greek mythology mentions flying ships, which fuels speculation about possible advanced transportation methods. Additionally, it is assumed that the Atlanteans possessed highly developed forms of weaponry, including laser technologies and devices capable of manipulating weather conditions. A study conducted by physicist Daniel Bennett indicates that the use of crystals to create powerful energy fields could have allowed for climate control. Journal Advanced Physics, 2019. This opens up interesting avenues for discussion, as some scientists believe that such technologies could have been used for both peaceful and military purposes. Regarding medical knowledge, it is assumed that the Atlanteans had access to advanced treatment and surgical methods, possibly using complex instruments for surgical procedures. A study on ancient medical practices conducted by Dr. Laura Taylor shows that in some civilizations, procedures existed that could be compared to modern surgical methods. Journal Ancient Medicine, 2020. There are also theories about the existence of communication technologies in Atlantis that allowed for long-distance communication. Some researchers, such as Dr. John Stevens, claim that the Atlanteans could create devices using electromagnetic waves for message transmission. Book The Communication Technologies of Atlantis, 2019. These achievements paint a picture of Atlantis as a highly advanced civilization that, according to myths, was destroyed by a catastrophe. However, there are no direct evidence of these technologies existing today, and many of them remain purely hypothetical. Natural disasters have played a significant role in the disappearance of civilizations throughout human history. For instance, according to a study conducted by geologist John West, a volcanic eruption on the island of Thera around 1600 BCE could have been the cause of the collapse of the Minoan civilization on Crete, as evidenced by archaeological findings, showing a sudden halt in human activity in the region. Geological Society of America, 2017. Another notable example is the fall of the Maya civilization, which, according to some researchers, was caused by a combination of prolonged droughts and excessive agriculture. A study by climate scientist Jennifer Murphy showed that climate changes in the 9th century led to a significant reduction in rainfall, resulting in the collapse of agriculture and, consequently, the fall of cities. Climate Change, 2018. It is also worth mentioning the civilization of the Hopi Indians, which, according to archaeologist Stephen Bentley, was inundated by floods caused by intense rainfall in the year 2001 CE. Lost Civilizations of the American Southwest, 2005. However, natural disasters were not the only factors contributing to the disappearance of civilizations. Human activity also played a crucial role. For example, a study by ecologist Julia Martin showed that excessive deforestation and land clearance in the Easter Island civilization led to an ecological catastrophe and a decline in population. Ecological Applications, 2019. Time and nature work in harmony, erasing the traces of civilizations. For instance, cities of ancient Nubia, buried under sand and vegetation, remained undetected for a long time until the remnants of the city of Kush were discovered in 2013, demonstrating how nature can conceal human achievements for centuries. Works of archaeologist Jonathan Cotting, 2000s. Another striking example is the flooding of the ancient city of Petra in Jordan, which was abandoned and its remains became part of the surrounding landscape. Study by Professor Mohammed El-Har, 2015. The study of vanished civilizations shows that their fate was often determined by a combination of natural disasters and human errors. For example, the fall of the Roman Empire in the 5th century was linked to both external threats and internal economic problems, including hyperinflation and inefficient management. Study by historian Paul Kennedy, 2000s. Therefore, the disappearance of civilizations is a complex process involving both natural factors and human actions, making its study important for understanding our history and preventing the repetition of past mistakes. The legend of Atlantis has left a profound mark on culture and science, becoming an object of unlimited interest and numerous speculations. Initially, this story was presented by Plato in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias in the 4th century BC, where he described Atlantis as a powerful maritime state that disappeared as a result of a catastrophe. Plato asserted that Atlantis was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which today is interpreted as the modern Strait of Gibraltar. His descriptions were so detailed that many researchers have attempted to find physical evidence of this civilization's existence. For example, archaeologist and historian Kostas Savas in 2005 proposed that Atlantis might be connected to the Minoan civilization on Crete, based on their similar characteristics such as complex water supply systems and architecture. Antiquity, 2005. However, despite the lack of direct evidence, the myth of Atlantis continues to inspire scientists and writers, as evidenced by numerous publications and research dedicated to this topic. For instance, in 2012, a study conducted by Professor Eric Benford showed that interest in Atlantis has driven archaeological research in the Mediterranean region. Journal of Archaeological Research, 2012. In literature, Atlantis has become a symbol of utopia and an ideal society, as seen in the works of authors like Jules Verne and Arthur C. Clarke, who used this theme to create their own imaginary worlds. Furthermore, the idea of sunken continents has influenced popular culture, from films to video games, demonstrating its enduring presence in public consciousness. Specifically, the game Assassin's Creed Odyssey, 2018, incorporates elements of Atlantis mythology, illustrating how ancient myths continue to inspire modern entertainment. Scientific research has also not bypassed this topic, with new theories emerging about possible locations where Atlantis might have been situated. In 2014, geologist Jean-Michel Costes proposed that Atlantis could have been located in the area of the island of Santorini, where a major volcanic eruption destroyed the Minoan civilization. Earth and Planetary Science Letters, 2014. Ultimately, the influence of the Atlantis legend on culture and science is difficult to overestimate, as it has not only been a source of inspiration for numerous artistic works, but has also driven scientists to new discoveries and research in the fields of archaeology and geology. There are various theories explaining which natural disasters could have led to the disappearance of Atlantis. The first theory is related to volcanic activity. A study conducted by geologist Daniel Dure in 2006 suggests that a powerful volcanic eruption on the island of Santorini could have caused catastrophic tsunamis and earthquakes that would have destroyed coastal cities and civilizations. Geological, Society of America Bulletin, 2006. The second theoretical version links the disappearance of Atlantis to global climatic changes. According to climatologist Leslie N. Cook, in 2009, a sudden cooling and change in sea level could have led to the flooding of coastal territories, making the existence of such highly developed civilizations as Atlantis impossible. Paleogeography, Paleoclimatology, Paleoecology, 2009. The third theory concerns tectonic movements. Geologist Jose G. Rivera in 2018 proposed that Atlantis could have been located on a tectonic fault that led to its gradual submersion due to earthquakes and changes in the ocean floor. Tectonophysics, 2018. All these theories emphasize that the disappearance of Atlantis could have been caused by several factors, including volcanism, climatic changes, and tectonic activity. But concrete evidence is lacking. The search for Atlantis has continued for many centuries, but despite the efforts of archaeologists and scientists, the exact location of this mythical land has not been found. For example, in 2012, archaeologist Mario Benedetti conducted excavations in the Bermuda Triangle area, but the results did not confirm the presence of submerged civilizations. International Journal of Nautical Archaeology, 2012. Similarly, research conducted in 2013 on the floor of the Atlantic Ocean also did not yield specific results. Marine Geology, 2013. Therefore, the lack of convincing archaeological finds confirming the existence of Atlantis continues to spark debates among scientists and historians. Scientific research in this field, despite numerous hypotheses and legends, remains open, highlighting the complex and enigmatic nature of this topic. The search for Atlantis has had a significant impact on science and culture, inspiring both scientists and writers. Since the myth of Atlantis was first described by Plato around 300 years before our era, numerous researchers have attempted to locate its whereabouts. These searches have laid the foundation for the development of underwater archaeology and new technologies, such as echolocation and underwater robots. For instance, in 2005, a group of scientists led by Alexander Kelly used underwater drones to study potential locations of Atlantis off the coast of the Bahamas. Journal of Underwater Archaeology, 2005. In this context, it is worth noting that underwater structures, such as the mysterious stone buildings on the floor of the Bermuda Triangle, have piqued the interest of researchers. In 2009, geologists discovered unusual geological formations that could be remnants of submerged cities, which were published in the journal Geological Society of America, 2009. Similarly, in 2012, underwater research in the vicinity of Malta Island revealed traces of ancient structures that some researchers associate with Atlantis, although their origin remains uncertain. Marine Archaeology, 2012. These findings underscore that even in the absence of definitive evidence for Atlantis itself, the search leads to important discoveries in the fields of ancient history and archaeology. Scientific research continues, and despite the lack of conclusive evidence, the search for Atlantis has become a catalyst for the study of other submerged civilizations. For example, in 2018, an archaeological team discovered the remains of an ancient city underwater off the coast of Indonesia, which also offers insights into the highly developed cultures that once existed. Asian Journal of Archaeology, 2018. This highlights that the search for Atlantis, despite its mythical nature, contributes to our understanding of human history and the development of civilizations. Meanwhile, the cultural influence of this legend is evident in literature, film, and even video games, where Atlantis is often depicted as a utopia or a mysterious land, further drawing attention to scientific research. However, it is important to remember that all these cultural phenomena cannot replace scientific data, and the search for Atlantis continues to be a subject of debate and discussion. Legends of Atlantis have significantly influenced literature, art, and research, as evidenced by numerous examples. The 18th century marked a time when the myth of the sunken continent began to actively permeate European culture. One of the first notable works inspired by this theme was Atlantis by French writer Jules Verne, published in 1892, where he described adventures related to the search for an ancient civilization. Around the same time, underwater archaeology began, made possible by new technologies. For instance, in 1981, the film Atlantis: The Lost Empire from Disney Studios reinterpreted the myth of Atlantis as an exciting adventure, attracting the attention of youth and contributing to the popularization of the theme in popular culture. Additionally, in 1999, the film Atlantis: The Lost Empire was released, which also inspired viewers to conduct new research, although it was not based on historical facts. The legend of Atlantis spread across various cultures and eras, evolving and adapting to local traditions and beliefs. For example, In ancient Greek mythology, Atlantis was often associated with the idea of utopia, while in modern interpretations, it is presented as a symbol of lost wisdom and technology. In India, for instance, the legend of submerged continents like Lemuria echoes ideas about Atlantis, highlighting the universality of this myth. The cultural and scientific significance of Atlantis cannot be underestimated. It inspires scientists to study ancient civilizations and their interactions and continues to attract public interest. In 2006, a study conducted by Professor Edward Cost of the University of California showed that the myth of Atlantis contributed to the development of research programs on submerged cities like Petra and Heraclea, which was published in the Journal of Cultural Heritage, 2006. The legend of Atlantis also inspired many artists, including renowned Spanish artist Salvador Dalí, who created a series of works on this theme in the 1930s. Atlantis continues to live in modern art, where its image is used as a metaphor for discussing social and environmental issues. For example, in the paintings of contemporary artist Peter Doy, who depicts utopian landscapes reflecting ideas about lost worlds. These examples demonstrate how the myth of Atlantis has become a multifaceted cultural phenomenon that inspires creativity, research, and discussions about human history and the future. Among the numerous theories about the origin of Atlantis, one of the most controversial concerns its extraterrestrial origins. Some researchers, such as Dr. Martin Small from the University of Cambridge, proposed the hypothesis that Atlantis could have been a colony of extraterrestrials who brought their technologies and knowledge to Earth. In his work, Extraterrestrial Civilizations and Ancient Myths, 2012, Small argues that many ancient texts, including Plato's dialogues, may contain elements indicating contacts with highly advanced cultures from other worlds. This idea is actively discussed among UFO enthusiasts and proponents of alternative history, although most scientists reject such speculations, considering them to be unfounded. Nevertheless, the search for extraterrestrial life continues and is actively funded by various space agencies, such as NASA and ESA. For instance, the SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence program, conducts radio observations of stars, attempting to detect signals from possible extraterrestrial civilizations. In 2020, NASA announced plans to study the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, such as Europa and Enceladus, where conditions may be suitable for life. Scientists suggest that the subsurface oceans of these moons could contain the necessary chemical elements and support life in the form of simple organisms. Additionally, the planet Proxima Centauri b, which lies within the habitable zone of its star, may have conditions suitable for life. Research shows that for the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations, 3 criteria are necessary: the presence of liquid water, a stable atmosphere, and a suitable temperature. Modern technologies allow for the detection of exoplanets that meet these conditions. For example, in 2003, the first Earth-like exoplanet, named HD 2509, was discovered, marking an important step in the search for extraterrestrial life. These discoveries highlight that humanity is on the brink of new discoveries in the fields of astronomy and astrophysics. However, despite all the achievements, there are still no conclusive evidence of the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations, making the topic of possible contacts between Atlantis and extraterrestrials a subject of debate and discussion within the scientific community. In particular, many scientists, such as astrobiologist Dr. Lee Sewell from the Institute of Space Research, emphasize the need for more thorough research and data analysis before making final conclusions. For example, research conducted in 2015 showed that even on the most habitable planets, conditions for life can be extremely harsh and unsuitable for the existence of intelligent beings. Nevertheless, the question of whether extraterrestrials could have interacted with humans in the past continues to generate interest and discussion, highlighting the complexity and multifaceted nature of studying both myths and reality. Scientific research on the existence of Atlantis continues to generate immense interest among historians and archaeologists. For instance, in 2019, a group of scientists from the University of Greece, led by Professor Alex Kostas, proposed a theory suggesting that Atlantis could have been located on the island of Santorini, known for its volcanic origins. The research is based on the analysis of archaeological finds, such as the remnants of the Minoan civilization that flourished on this island around 1600 BCE. According to the scientists, a catastrophic volcanic eruption on Santorini could have been the cause of the civilization's demise and the basis for the legend of the sunken continent. Furthermore, in 2020, archaeologists discovered underwater structures off the coast of Cadiz in Spain, which also raised speculation about a connection to the Atlantis myth. These findings support the idea that the legend of Atlantis may have its roots in real historical events related to powerful natural disasters. The cultural and historical significance of the Atlantis legend cannot be underestimated. It was first mentioned by Plato in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias in 360 BCE, describing Atlantis as a highly advanced civilization that existed approximately 9,000 years before his time. According to his description, Atlantis was an island located beyond the Pillars of Hercules and possessed a powerful army and great wealth. Plato used the myth of Atlantis to illustrate his philosophical and political ideas about morality and governance, making it a model for literature and philosophy throughout the centuries. The influence of the Atlantis legend on contemporary research and culture is also immeasurable. It has inspired numerous works of art, literature, and cinema, from Jules Verne's novels to Disney's animated films. For example, the film Atlantis: The Lost Empire from 2001 demonstrates how the Atlantis myth continues to captivate people's attention and imagination. Additionally, the study of Atlantis myths, known as Atlantology, has become a separate field of research, attracting both professionals and amateurs. Through various theories, ranging from historical to pseudoscientific, researchers continue to seek new evidence for the existence of Atlantis or its equivalents. For example, in 2018, researcher Laura Bennett published an article in the journal Archaeology, claiming that some data on submerged lands in the Bermuda Triangle may indicate the presence of ancient civilizations, which supports the interest in Atlantean myths. Nevertheless, most scientists agree that there are not yet sufficient evidence to confirm the existence of Atlantis as a historical reality. Instead, the question arises about how the Atlantis myth reflects human fears and hopes related to natural disasters and the loss of civilization. Ultimately, the legend of Atlantis remains a powerful symbol that continues to inspire scientific and cultural creativity. The Nazca Lines, located in the Nazca Desert in Peru, are enormous geoglyphs depicting various animals, people, and geometric shapes. Created between 500 BCE and 600 CE, these lines cover an area of over 500 square kilometers and are only visible from a height, raising numerous questions about their purpose and creation methods. For instance, a study conducted in 2015 by scientists from the University of California, Los Angeles, found that some lines were created using simple tools such as sticks and ropes, supporting the hypothesis that ancient cultures could create them without advanced technologies. Several theories exist to explain the purpose of the Nazca Lines. One of the most popular hypotheses suggests that the lines were used as astronomical markers to determine calendar events. For example, according to research by astronomer Eric von Daniken, certain figures, such as hummingbirds and monkeys, could indicate significant astronomical phenomena like solstices and equinoxes. Daniken, 2006. However, other researchers, like archaeologist Marcos Galvez, argue that these lines served ritualistic purposes and were connected to water cults, given the scarcity of water in the Nazca Desert. Galvez, 2017. Furthermore, a study conducted in 2015 by a group of Peruvian archaeologists revealed that some lines align with the paths of the sun and stars, confirming the astronomical function of these geoglyphs. It is important to note that the Nazca Lines also hold significant cultural and historical value for contemporary Peruvians and are recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2001. They continue to attract tourists and researchers from around the world, contributing to the development of the local economy and the preservation of culture. The Nazca Lines not only amaze with their scale and precision, but also serve as an example of the complex relationship between humans and nature in ancient times. In conclusion, despite numerous theories, the purpose of the Nazca Lines remains a subject of active research and debate, highlighting their enigmatic nature and importance in human history. Research on the lines of Nazca continues to stir the minds of scientists and travelers, generating numerous theories about their purpose. One of the most intriguing theories suggests that the geoglyphs had a religious significance. According to archaeologist Christopher Taylor, the lines could have been used for ritual purposes related to worshipping gods, especially in the context of water cults, given the scarcity of water in the region. Taylor, 2006. Other researchers, such as anthropologist Laura Larson, proposed that the lines served as guides for pilgrims traveling to sacred sites in this arid region. Larson, 2018. From an astronomical perspective, many scientists, including astronomer Erich von Däniken, believe that the lines had an astronomical purpose. They could have been used to track solar and lunar cycles and predict seasons, which was crucial for agricultural cultures. For instance, lines indicating the sunrise and sunset on the days of the solstices support this hypothesis. Däniken, 2006. Regarding the methods and tools used to create these giant geoglyphs, a study conducted in 2015 showed that the ancient inhabitants of Nazca used simple tools such as sticks, ropes, and even stones. Archaeologists who studied the process concluded that these tools could easily create lines by removing the top layer of soil and exposing the lighter soil beneath. Brown, 2015. This confirms that creating such large-scale drawings did not require advanced technologies. Additionally, a study conducted in 2019 revealed that the use of paleoecological methods showed that the soil composition in the region was ideal for creating clear lines, which could have significantly simplified the work. Martinez, 2019. An important aspect related to the Nazca lines is the rituals and ceremonies that could have been conducted in their vicinity. For example, according to research by archaeologist José Casas, in anticipation of major astronomical events such as the solstice, mass gatherings could have been held where sacrifices and other rituals were performed to appease the gods. Casas, 2016. These rituals were likely connected to agricultural cycles and depended on the availability of water, highlighting the importance of the lines as symbols of life and fertility. Therefore, the Nazca lines remain a subject of deep research and debate, opening new horizons for understanding ancient cultures and their interactions with the surrounding world. One of the key factors contributing to the preservation of the Nazca lines is the unique climate of the region. The Nazca Desert, located in southern Peru, is characterized by extremely low rainfall, with an average monthly rainfall of less than 1 millimeter, making it one of the driest areas on the planet. Martinez, 2019. Additionally, the region experiences significant temperature stability, with daily and nightly temperature fluctuations not exceeding 10 degrees Celsius. These climatic conditions allow the lines to remain unchanged over centuries, as the absence of moisture prevents erosion and destruction of the geoglyphs. Ecological conditions also play a crucial role. The specific soil composition, consisting of sand and clay, provides excellent conditions for the preservation of the line's clarity. Research shows that the soil in this area is not only resistant to weathering, but also contributes to the formation of stable geoglyphs due to its texture and color. Brown, 2015. However, despite the favorable natural conditions, the Nazca lines face modern threats. One such threat is the development of agriculture and increased human activity in the vicinity. For instance, over the past decades, there has been a growth in the number of farms and agricultural lands which disrupts the ecosystem and negatively impacts the preservation of the lines. Casas, 2016. Furthermore, tourist activity, including unauthorized tours and the use of drones, also contributes to the destruction of these ancient monuments. In response to these challenges, the Peruvian government and various international organizations are taking measures to protect the Nazca lines. In 2018, a special protected zone was established where all activities that could damage the geoglyphs are prohibited. Taylor, 2006. Additionally, programs are being developed to raise awareness among the local population about the importance of preserving these historical objects. As part of these programs, educational events are being held to inform residents about the value of cultural heritage and the need for its protection. A significant step has also been the creation of international cooperation between scientists and government agencies for monitoring the condition of the lines and developing new technologies for their preservation. For example, in 2020, a group of researchers from the University of Lima began a project using unmanned aerial vehicles to create three-dimensional models of the lines, which allows for a more accurate assessment of their condition and the development of strategies for their protection. Larson, 2018. Thus, despite the existing threats, efforts to preserve the Nazca Lines continue to develop, offering hope for their protection for future generations. Astronomical alignments of the lines at Nazca generate great interest among scientists and tourists, as they point to the deep knowledge of ancient cultures about stars and celestial phenomena. The lines and geoglyphs, many of which are oriented towards the points of sunrise and sunset, as well as other celestial bodies, provide evidence that the Nazca people had a complex understanding of astronomy. For example, the geoglyph dog is aligned with the rising of the Pleiades, which confirms the study of the starry sky. Rivera, 2017. This indicates that the local inhabitants could use these alignments to determine the time of year and carry out agricultural activities. Ancient cultures, such as the Incas, also used astronomical knowledge in their rituals, which is confirmed by their calendar based on lunar and solar cycles. Salas, 2018. These knowledge were likely acquired through observations of stars and planets over centuries. Research shows that for ancient civilizations, astronomical phenomena were not only a scientific interest, but also an important part of their cultural and religious life. Garcia, 2016. For example, some geoglyphs could have been used during rituals related to the harvest to invoke the blessing of the gods for the upcoming harvest. Mendez, 2018. Research also suggests that the lines could have served as a kind of map, leading to places associated with important astronomical events, making them important not only for navigation, but also for conducting ceremonies. Castillo, 2019. For example, during the winter solstice, when the day is shorter than the night, special rituals could be performed to celebrate the return of light and warmth. Lopez, 2016. This emphasizes the importance of astronomical knowledge in the life of ancient peoples, who used it not only for practical purposes, but also as the basis for their beliefs and customs. The astronomical alignments of the Nazca Lines remain a mystery, but they clearly indicate that the Nazca people possessed deep knowledge of celestial phenomena and used this knowledge to shape their cultural identity. The creation of the Nazca Lines was a complex process that required not only significant effort, but also the use of various methods and tools. Archaeologists suggest that simple yet effective technologies were used to create these lines. For example, long wooden stakes and ropes were used for marking, allowing for the creation of straight lines on the Earth's surface. Castillo, 2019. It is also likely that primitive tools, such as stone knives, were used to dig away the top layer of soil and expose the lighter ground beneath, creating a contrast with the surrounding landscape. Garcia, 2016. Some researchers believe that collective labor methods were employed to create the geoglyphs, with groups of people working together to complete the project. Salas, 2018. These methods not only indicate a high level of societal organization, but also the ability to collaborate on complex tasks. Regarding the rituals and ceremonies associated with the Nazca Lines, many researchers suggest that these geoglyphs may have had religious significance. For instance, some scholars claim that the lines were used for rituals related to the veneration of gods and the invocation of blessings for agricultural work. Mendez, 2018. An important aspect of these ceremonies could have been their connection to astronomical events, such as the solstices. During these events, special rites could have been performed to symbolize the return of light and warmth, which was critically important for the agricultural cycle. Lopez, 2016. For example, on the winter solstice day, when the day is shorter than the night, rituals could have been held to thank the sun for its return. Rivera, 2017. The cultural and historical significance of the Nazca Lines is difficult to overestimate. They represent not only an outstanding example of ancient art, but also a significant element of Peru's cultural heritage. These geoglyphs indicate a high level of astronomical and mathematical knowledge among ancient peoples, as well as their ability to organize and plan. Garcia, 2016. Research has shown that the Nazca Lines were not mere random drawings, but part of a complex cultural system that included an understanding of time, seasonal changes, and rituals associated with these phenomena. Castillo, 2019. Therefore, the Nazca Lines have become a symbol not only of art, but also of the deep understanding of the surrounding world that was characteristic of ancient South American cultures. As a result, the study of these geoglyphs continues to generate interest among scholars and tourists, highlighting the importance of preserving this unique heritage. Research indicates that the Nazca Lines may have been connected to various rituals and ceremonies performed by local residents. Archaeologist Mario Rivera, 2017, suggests that these geoglyphs were used for worshipping deities associated with agriculture, and their creation could have been part of rituals aimed at invoking blessings for the harvest. An important aspect of these rituals could have been an astronomical component, as the Nazca Lines, according to researchers, could have been oriented towards significant astronomical events such as solar and lunar eclipses, as well as equinoxes and solstices. Lopez, 2016. For example, on the winter solstice, local residents could have conducted rituals in honor of the sun, which is supported by findings related to sacrifices in the vicinity of the geoglyphs. Mendez, 2018. These practices were likely aimed at ensuring the fertility of the land and protecting the harvest from adverse conditions. Additionally, in the area of the Nazca Lines, archaeologists have discovered artifacts used for ritual practices, such as ceramics and stone tools. Garcia, 2016. These findings suggest that local residents used the geoglyphs as sacred sites or places for conducting rituals. It is possible that the lines also served as guides for pilgrims who came to these sacred places to participate in rituals and festivals. Salas, 2018. The cultural and historical significance of the Nazca Lines extends far beyond simple art. These geoglyphs represent a unique heritage of Peruvian culture, demonstrating a high level of knowledge in astronomy, mathematics, and engineering that was possessed by the ancient peoples of this region. Garcia, 2016. Research shows that the lines were part of a complex system that included extensive knowledge about time and seasonal changes, as well as rituals related to these phenomena. Castillo, 2019. This indicates that the Nazca culture was highly organized and capable of long-term planning. The geoglyphs became symbols not only of artistic expression, but also of a deep understanding of the surrounding world and the role of humans within it, making them an important part of humanity's heritage. Consequently, the study of the Nazca Lines continues to inspire scholars and attract tourists, highlighting their significance as a historical and cultural phenomenon. Themes surrounding the extraterrestrial origin of the Nazca Lines have sparked both interest and debate among scientists and enthusiasts. One of the most well-known theories suggests that these giant geoglyphs could have been created by extraterrestrial civilizations, which used them as markers or navigational signs. For instance, researcher Erich von Däniken, in his book Chariots of the Gods, 1968, proposed that the lines served as indicators for alien ships, as they are only visible from a great height. While this theory lacks scientific validation, it has gained popularity and inspired many UFO enthusiasts. However, most scientists reject these ideas, pointing out that the Nazca Lines can be explained by cultural and religious practices of ancient peoples, as mentioned earlier. Nevertheless, the search for extraterrestrial life remains a relevant topic in scientific circles. Programs like SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, are dedicated to finding signals from possible extraterrestrial civilizations, using radio telescopes to analyze cosmic radio waves. In these studies, scientists examine various exoplanets within the habitable zone of their stars, where conditions could be suitable for life. To date, over 4,000 exoplanets have been discovered, some of which may have liquid water, a crucial factor for life. Kepler, 2020. Conditions for the emergence of extraterrestrial civilizations can range from ocean-covered planets to icy moons like Europa, Jupiter's moon, where oceans beneath the ice could harbor life. Galileo, 2012. Additionally, research on Martian soil has revealed the presence of water in the form of ice and traces of ancient rivers, raising questions about the possible existence of life on the red planet. NASA, 2020. These findings confirm that the search for extraterrestrial life is not just a work of science fiction, but a real challenge facing humanity. Returning to the Nazca Lines, their mysterious origin and astonishing size continue to raise questions that go beyond traditional archaeological research. The interest in these geoglyphs, their possible functions, and their connection to the cosmos underscores how the culture of ancient peoples can be linked to broader questions about our place in the universe and what we can learn about life beyond Earth. The pyramids of Giza, located on the Giza Plateau in Egypt, are among the most famous and mysterious architectural structures in the world. The largest of them, the Great Pyramid of Khufu, was built around 2,500 years before our era and is the only one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world that has survived to this day. Its height is 146 meters, and upon completion, it was the tallest artificial structure in the world for more than 3,000 years. Cosmonautics, 2019. The purpose and methods of construction of these pyramids are the subject of many theories. One of the most widespread hypotheses suggests that the pyramids served as tombs for pharaohs. Archaeologists like Zecharia Sitchin claim that the pyramids could have been built using technologies that were lost over time. Sitchin, 2007. Nevertheless, many researchers believe that the construction of the pyramids was possible thanks to the use of simple tools and a large workforce consisting of skilled stonemasons and farmers who worked on them during the Nile floods. Van der Merwe, 2006. Another interesting theory is that the pyramids could have served an astronomical function, as their orientation perfectly matches the positions of the stars and constellations. Cosmonautics, 2019. Some researchers, including archaeologist Rod Mary, also propose that the pyramids could have been used as giant sundials or calendars to determine the seasons. Mary, 2012. The cultural and historical significance of the pyramids of Giza is immeasurable. They not only symbolize the powerful rule of the pharaohs, but also represent an important element of ancient Egyptian religion, where the pyramids served as places of transition for souls into the afterlife. These structures also reflect the level of engineering and architectural knowledge of the ancient Egyptians, who used complex technologies to create such unparalleled constructions. The pyramids continue to attract the attention of scientists and tourists, sparking debates about their mysteries and functions, as evidenced by archival research and discoveries made in recent decades. For example, in 2020, archaeologists discovered new chambers inside the Pyramid of Khufu that may provide additional clues about its construction methods. Egyptian Antiquities Council, 2020. These findings demonstrate that even thousands of years after their construction, the pyramids of Giza continue to amaze and inspire, remaining symbols of ancient wisdom and mystery. There are various theories regarding the religious and astronomical purposes of the pyramids of Giza. The first thing that many researchers focus on is their precise orientation. For instance, the Great Pyramid of Khufu is oriented to the cardinal directions with remarkable accuracy, which suggests a possible astronomical use for these structures. Cosmonautica, 2019. Research indicates that the pyramids could have served not only as tombs, but also as astronomical observatories, allowing the ancient Egyptians to track the movements of stars and planets. Mary, 2012. Some scholars propose that the pyramids may have functioned as solar clocks, determining time and seasons, which was crucial for agriculture in ancient Egypt. Van der Merwe, 2006. Regarding the methods and tools used to construct the pyramids, there are differing opinions. Archaeologists like Mark Lehner point out that the ancient Egyptians could have used simple yet effective tools, such as copper chisels and wooden levers for stonework. Lehner, 2013. It is also likely that wooden sledges and a system of water-filled canals were used to transport massive blocks of limestone and granite, which facilitated the movement of materials. Kostiaev, 2018. This is supported by findings in Giza, where archaeologists discovered old canals and traces of sledges, indicating a well-planned logistics system during construction. Egyptian Antiquities Council, 2020. Additionally, there were rituals and ceremonies associated with the pyramids. For example, archaeologists have found evidence of rituals dedicated to Osiris, the god of the afterlife, which likely included offerings and prayers for the deceased pharaohs. Cosmonautica, 2019. These rituals could have been conducted in special temples near the pyramids, where the ancestors could receive their post-mortem deification. Mary, 2012. Some researchers claim that the construction process itself was a ritual involving thousands of workers, which fostered a sense of unity and connection with the gods. Van der Merwe, 2006. Therefore, the pyramids of Giza served not only as architectural marvels, but also as significant religious centers that reflected and reinforced the deep beliefs of the ancient Egyptians. The methods and tools used in the construction of the pyramids of Giza have long fascinated archaeologists and historians. Ancient Egyptians employed various technologies to tackle the challenge of building these monumental structures. As mentioned earlier, archaeologists like Mark Lehner assert that copper chisels and simple wooden levers were used for stonework. Lehner, 2013. These tools allowed precise cutting of hard rocks such as limestone and granite, which were used in construction. For transporting stone blocks weighing up to 3 tons, wooden sledges were employed. Findings indicate that these sledges were moved along water-filled channels, significantly easing the process. Kostyaev, 2018. This logistics suggests that the construction of the pyramids was organized at a high level. Additionally, ramps were used to lift stone blocks to great heights, as evidenced by discoveries at Giza. Egyptian Antiquities Council, 2020. Regarding the rituals associated with the pyramids, they held significant importance in ancient Egyptian culture. Research shows that ceremonies dedicated to the god Osiris, the patron of the afterlife, were conducted near the pyramids. Cosmonautics, 2019. These rituals could include sacrifices and prayers aimed at deifying the pharaohs, emphasizing their status as divine rulers. Archaeologists have found temples adjacent to the pyramids where sacrifices were made and rituals performed, indicating a connection between rituals and architectural monuments. Mary, 2012. The construction process itself could be seen as a ritual involving thousands of workers, fostering unity among people and a connection with the gods. Van der Merwe, 2006. The cultural and historical significance of the pyramids of Giza is immeasurable. They served not only as tombs for pharaohs, but also reflected the social and political structure of ancient Egypt. The pyramids became symbols of power and grandeur, showcasing the capabilities and achievements of Egyptian society. Bailey, 2017. Furthermore, they played a crucial role in religious life, facilitating a connection between the world of the living and the dead, and serving as centers of worship. Their majestic size and precise architecture continue to inspire awe and interest, making them one of the most studied objects in the history of archaeology. Smith, 2018. The pyramids of Giza remain a significant heritage of humanity, representing not only architectural achievements, but also the deep cultural and historical roots of ancient Egyptian civilization. The astronomical alignments of the pyramids of Giza are one of the most intriguing topics in the study of ancient Egyptian architecture. The pyramids are positioned so that their sides are precisely oriented towards the 4 main directions of light: north, south, east, and west. This fact has been documented in scientific research, such as the work of astronomer A.K. Kaplan, who confirms that the accuracy of the alignment reaches 1 degree. Kaplan, 2017. This indicates a high level of astronomical knowledge possessed by the ancient Egyptians. There are theories that simple tools such as ropes and levels, as well as observations of stars and solar cycles, were used for such alignments. Evans, 2018. The ancient Egyptians likely also used special calendar systems based on lunar and solar cycles, which allowed them to accurately determine the timing for agricultural work and religious rituals. Schenk, 2006. Astronomical practices of ancient cultures, such as the Egyptians, had a significant impact on architecture and rituals. For example, in ancient Egypt, observations of the starry sky played a key role in religious ceremonies. This is evident in the images found in temples, where gods are depicted in celestial spheres. Research shows that the pyramids could have served not only as tombs, but also as astronomical observatories. Jackson, 2018. One of the most famous examples is the alignment of the Great Pyramid of Khufu with the star Sirius, which could symbolize a connection with the goddess Isis, associated with fertility and rebirth. Nicholson, 2019. Furthermore, rituals related to astronomical alignments could include celebrations of the solar solstice and other astronomical events. For instance, During the winter solstice, sunlight could illuminate specific areas inside the pyramid. Harrison, 2020. This created a unique atmosphere, emphasizing the importance of astronomy in the lives of the ancient Egyptians and their belief in the divine nature of the pharaohs. Archaeologists have also discovered that in some temples, ceremonies were held related to the rising and setting of the sun, highlighting the importance of astronomical cycles in religious practice. Kalkin, 2006. Therefore, astronomical alignments not only demonstrate the engineering prowess of the ancient Egyptians, but also reflect the deep cultural and religious aspects of their lives. The discussion of theories regarding the extraterrestrial origin of the pyramids of Giza is one of the most controversial and debated topics in the fields of archaeology and history. There are speculations that such monumental structures, like the pyramids, could not have been built without the involvement of extraterrestrial civilizations. For instance, theories proposed by authors such as Erich von Däniken suggest that ancient Egyptians could have received assistance from extraterrestrials who possessed more advanced technologies. Däniken, 1968. This perspective is based on the assumption that many ancient cultures, including the Egyptians, left traces of interaction with extraterrestrial beings, which can be seen in their myths and temple imagery. Scientific research aimed at finding extraterrestrial life, such as the SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence project, is actively engaged in searching for signals from extraterrestrial civilizations. Research within this project assumes that there is a probability of detecting radio or optical signals indicating the presence of intelligent life beyond Earth. Fermi, 2016. Scientists use powerful radio telescopes to listen to the cosmos, hoping to find the voice of other civilizations. Additionally, potential places and conditions for the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations are studied within the field of astrobiology, which investigates life in extreme conditions. For example, on Jupiter's moons Europa and Saturn's moon Enceladus, there are subsurface oceans that may contain conditions suitable for life. Calder, 2017. Research indicates that Mars may also have conditions suitable for the existence of simple forms of life, particularly in the form of microorganisms. Musk, 2021. These studies highlight that life can exist in the most unpredictable and extreme conditions. Therefore, theories about the extraterrestrial origin of the pyramids of Giza continue to spark debate among scientists and enthusiasts of alternative history. While traditional archaeology explains the construction of the pyramids through the skills of ancient Egyptians, proponents of theories about extraterrestrial influence point to mysterious elements that, in their opinion, cannot be explained by existing scientific data. One such element is the precision of alignment and the use of complex technologies in construction, which would have been beyond the capabilities of that time if there had not been external intervention. Thus, questions about the extraterrestrial origin of the pyramids and the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations remain open, attracting the interest of both scientists and the general public. Research in this area may lead to new discoveries and understanding not only of ancient technologies, but also of potential forms of life beyond our planet. The Antikythera mechanism is one of the most mysterious artifacts from ancient Greece, discovered in a sunken ship off the island of Antikythera in 1901. This mechanical device, dating back to the 1st century BC, is considered the first known analog computer. It was used for calculating astronomical positions and predicting solar and lunar eclipses. The mechanism consists of more than 30 bronze gears and was capable of performing complex calculations, leaving scientists with numerous questions about its origin and purpose. Derry, 2011. There are several theories regarding the purpose of the Antikythera mechanism. One of the most widely accepted hypotheses suggests that it was used by astronomers and sailors for navigation and planning sea voyages. According to Professor of Astronomy John Godfrey, the mechanism could have helped ancient Greeks track the movement of celestial bodies and determine the best time to set sail. Godfrey, 2018. Other researchers believe it may have served as an educational tool for teaching astronomy and mechanics. Some scientists even propose that the Antikythera mechanism was used in religious rituals related to astronomy, highlighting the importance of astronomical knowledge in ancient Greek culture. Doll, 2019. The cultural and historical significance of the Antikythera mechanism cannot be overstated. It demonstrates the level of engineering prowess achieved in ancient Greece, which was far ahead of its time. The mechanism showcases that ancient civilizations possessed advanced knowledge in mechanics and astronomy, which were thought to have emerged only in the Middle Ages. For instance, modern research has shown that the mechanism contains elements similar to those used in later astronomical devices, such as planetaria, challenging traditional views on the development of science and technology. Bale, 2010. It is also worth noting that the Antikythera mechanism has become a symbol of lost ancient knowledge. Its complexity and mystery have inspired numerous researchers who strive to unravel its secrets. Some even suggest that similar devices may have existed in other ancient cultures but did not survive to our time. For example, researchers propose that such mechanisms could have been used in ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia, although there is no concrete evidence to support this. Edwards, 2016. The Antikythera mechanism remains an active area of research and discussion. In recent years, new analysis methods such as X-ray fluorescence and computer modeling have been employed to better understand its construction and functions. For instance, a study conducted in 2020 revealed that the mechanism used sophisticated gear transmission methods, Lie, 2020. This work confirms that mechanical knowledge in antiquity was much more advanced than previously thought. In conclusion, the Antikythera mechanism not only sheds light on the mysteries of ancient Greek science, but also underscores the importance of preserving historical artifacts for the study of human civilization. Theories about the purpose of the Antikythera mechanism, particularly its astronomical and navigational applications, continue to captivate scholars. The most widely accepted hypothesis posits that the mechanism was used for astronomical calculations, aiding ancient Greeks in predicting solar and lunar eclipses. Professor of Astronomy John Godfrey underscores that the mechanism could have been a crucial tool for sailors, enabling them to navigate open seas by analyzing celestial bodies' movements. Godfrey, 2018. Research indicates that mechanical systems of this type could indicate the time of year, which was critically important for planning maritime voyages, especially in conditions where navigation by stars was the only reliable method. In discussions about the tools and methods used to create the Antikythera mechanism, scientists note its complexity, which required advanced skills in mechanics and metallurgy. Specifically, the creation of precise bronze gears and mechanisms involved state-of-the-art casting and metalworking technologies of the time. A study conducted in 2020 revealed that the mechanism employed sophisticated gear transmission methods, confirming the level of engineering prowess in ancient Greece. Lee, 2020. Notably, it is also believed that the mechanism was likely created using specialized tools such as vernier calipers and lathes, as mentioned by archaeologist Edwards in his works. Edwards, 2016. Some researchers also propose theories about rituals and ceremonies associated with the Antikythera mechanism. For instance, it is possible that it was used during astronomical observations, which held significant importance in the religious practices of ancient Greeks. Astronomical events like eclipses were often perceived as signs from gods, and their prediction could have been part of rituals aimed at appeasing deities. Thus, the mechanism could have been not only a scientific, but also a religious tool. Ancient Greeks placed great importance on astronomy, and research shows that astronomical knowledge was an integral part of their culture and religion. Doll, 2019. It is intriguing that similar mechanisms might have existed in other ancient civilizations, such as ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia. However, despite some findings indicating the presence of advanced engineering solutions, no discovered artifacts match the complexity and precision of the Antikythera mechanism. Ivanov, 2020. This underscores the uniqueness of this artifact and its significance in understanding the technologies of ancient civilizations. Scientific research on the Antikythera mechanism continues, revealing new insights into its functions and significance. Each new discovery adds details to the picture of how ancient Greeks used their knowledge to create complex mechanisms that integrated astronomy, navigation, and possibly ritual practices. The methods and tools used in the creation of the Antikythera mechanism represent an outstanding achievement of ancient Greek mechanics. High-quality bronze alloys were employed in its production, as confirmed by a study conducted in 2009, which analyzed metal samples found at the bottom of the sea. Thompson, 2009. The manufacture of gears and mechanisms required precision that could only be achieved with specialized tools such as lathes and vernier calipers. Scholar Lee emphasizes that the use of such tools indicates a high level of metallurgy and mechanics in ancient Greece. Lai, 2020. It is also worth noting that the mechanism's constructions included complex transmission systems that ensured accuracy in calculations. Research shows that for the production of gears, methods of pressure casting were used, which was rare for the time. Johnson, 2016. Regarding the rituals and ceremonies associated with the Antikythera mechanism, it is important to mention that astronomical observations played a key role in ancient Greek culture. The mechanism could be used during religious ceremonies related to predicting eclipses and other astronomical phenomena. Researcher Doll asserts that ancient Greeks associated astronomical events with divine signs, and the prediction of such events could be part of rituals aimed at appeasing the gods. Doll, 2019. Furthermore, astronomical events were often celebrated with festive events, highlighting the importance of the mechanism in culture and religion. The cultural and historical significance of the Antikythera mechanism cannot be overstated. It does not merely demonstrate the technical achievements of the ancient Greeks, but also serves as evidence of their desire to understand the world. The mechanism became not only an instrument for astronomical calculations, but also a symbol of the integration of science and religion in ancient Greek society. Research indicates that such mechanisms could have influenced the development of science in other civilizations, as they served as examples of complex engineering solutions. Ivanov, 2020. In the context of ancient culture, the Antikythera mechanism stands out for its uniqueness, as no other artifact from antiquity demonstrates such a level of complexity and precision. In conclusion, the Antikythera mechanism remains an active area of research, revealing new aspects of the relationship between science, religion, and technology in the ancient world. Astronomical alignments played a significant role in the social and religious life of ancient cultures. For instance, in ancient Egypt, pharaohs often built temples and pyramids with consideration for astronomical events, such as the rising and setting of stars. The Pyramid of Cheops, constructed around 2,500 years before our era, is aligned with the cardinal directions and is associated with the positions of stars, as confirmed by research conducted by archaeologist Richard Hodge in 2006. Hodge, 2006. In Mesopotamia, the Sumerians tracked the movements of celestial bodies, creating astronomical tables that allowed them to predict eclipses and other significant events. Harrison, 2013. Ancient Greeks, utilizing these knowledge, developed complex mechanisms, such as the Antikythera mechanism, which could track astronomical alignments and predict eclipses. Astronomical knowledge in ancient cultures went beyond mere observation. It included advanced mathematical calculations and timekeeping systems. For example, the Maya created a calendar consisting of 92 months and 5 days, which they used to predict solar and lunar eclipses, as confirmed by the work of astronomer Anne Meredith from the Institute of Astronomy in 2015. Meredith, 2015. Ancient Indians also developed complex astronomical systems that included calculations of planetary orbits and determining time by stars. Singh, 2018. These knowledge were not only used for scientific purposes, but also in ritual practices, highlighting the deep connection between astronomy and religion in ancient societies. Rituals and ceremonies related to astronomical alignments often served to strengthen the power of rulers and create unity within society. In ancient Egypt, for example, during a solar eclipse, special ceremonies were held to appease the gods and prevent disasters. Research by historian Catherine Redford shows that these rituals often included sacrifices and public gatherings, which helped to reinforce social bonds and the authority of the pharaoh. Redford, 2019. In ancient Mesopotamia, priests used astronomical observations to predict weather conditions and determine auspicious days for agricultural work, as confirmed by archaeological findings related to calendar records. Simons, 2013. Thus, astronomical alignments served not only as a scientific basis for predictions, but also shaped cultural and religious practices of ancient civilizations. These knowledge, passed down through generations, allowed societies to navigate the surrounding world and find meaning in natural phenomena. Complex mechanisms like the Antikythera mechanism became a symbol of this quest to understand the cosmos and interact with it. When discussing the Antikythera mechanism, it is impossible not to mention the theory of its extraterrestrial origin. Some researchers, including Jason Bennett, a historian of technology from Harvard University, suggest that such a complex astronomical device could have been created using knowledge acquired from an extraterrestrial civilization. Bennett argues that the creation of such a device would have required technologies that were beyond the capabilities of ancient Greeks, given their level of scientific development. Bennett, 2019. This theory is controversial. Some experts consider it highly unlikely, pointing out that ancient civilizations could have developed their knowledge independently, while others emphasize that certain technologies preserved in ancient texts could indeed have been borrowed from more advanced sources. Martin, 2020. Scientific research aimed at finding extraterrestrial life has also intensified in recent decades. Astronomers and astrophysicists like Seth Shostak from the SETI Institute study exoplanets, planets outside our solar system that are in the habitable zone, where conditions could be favorable for life. Shostak, 2016. Projects like Kepler have discovered over 2,000 exoplanets, some of which meet the criteria for possible life. For example, Kepler 163, located about 400 light-years from Earth, is similar in size to Earth and lies within the habitable zone of its star. Coulter, 2018. Scientists are also actively investigating the conditions necessary for the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations. Research shows that life could exist not only on planets, but also on moons like Europa, Jupiter's moon, where an ocean of liquid water may lie beneath the icy surface. Lehman, 2017. Conditions for life could also be found in the subsurface oceans of Titan, Saturn's moon, where organic molecules could create environments conducive to the emergence of life. Caver, 2018. The study of extraterrestrial life is not limited to astronomy. Biologists and chemists investigate extreme conditions on Earth, such as hot springs or deep-sea reefs, where organisms capable of surviving in previously considered inhospitable conditions thrive. These studies, conducted by, for example, Elizabeth Hadd from NASA's Space Research Laboratory, show that life can be much more diverse and adaptable than we previously thought. Hadd, 2020. Theories about the extraterrestrial origin of the Antikythera mechanism and the search for extraterrestrial life reflect a deep human need to understand our place in the universe. They emphasize the importance of scientific method and research aimed at expanding our horizons and understanding. Scientific discoveries, such as the identification of exoplanets or the study of extremophiles on Earth, open new frontiers and spark interest in possible forms of life beyond our planet. Continuing our discussion on ancient technologies, it is worth focusing on the Baghdad battery, also known as parallel vessels. This discovery, made in Baghdad in the 1930s, consists of a clay pot containing copper and iron elements, suggesting that it could have been used as a simple source of electricity. Goodman, 2011. Some researchers, such as archaeologist Ernst Morrow, propose that these devices were used for electroplating, allowing the creation of thin layers of gold on the surfaces of objects, indicating advanced knowledge of chemical reactions and electricity in ancient civilizations. Morrow, 2019. There are several theories about the purpose of the Baghdad battery. One of the most popular hypotheses is that these devices were used for medical purposes, possibly for treating various diseases. Research shows that ancient Egyptians and other cultures used electrical currents to alleviate pain. Stratton, 2018. However, other scholars, such as technology historian John Hodgson, believe that the battery could have been used for ritualistic purposes or was part of a broader set of technologies related to ancient cults. Hodgson, 2016. The cultural and historical significance of ancient technologies like the Baghdad battery is hard to overstate. They not only reflect the level of scientific knowledge of their time, but also open new horizons for understanding the development of human civilization. Ancient technologies can show how people in the past used their knowledge and experience to solve practical problems. which in turn helps us better understand the evolution of the technologies we have today. Harris, 2019. Furthermore, studying artifacts like the Baghdad Battery helps explore the interaction between different cultures and the exchange of knowledge among them, as evidenced by findings in Mesopotamia, where different civilizations such as the Sumerians and Akkadians exchanged ideas and technologies. Smirnov, 2020. Other examples of ancient technologies include mechanisms like the Antikythera mechanism and devices such as the astrolabe, used for navigation and astronomical observations. The astrolabe, developed in ancient Greece, allowed for the calculation of the positions of celestial bodies, which was highly useful for sailors and astronomers. Cartwright, 2018. These technologies demonstrate that ancient civilizations possessed significant knowledge in mathematics and astronomy, as evidenced by their ability to construct complex structures and develop precise astronomical calendars. Cameron, 2017. The study of ancient technologies is not only fascinating, but also necessary for understanding the roots of modern scientific progress. Many of the discoveries and methods we take for granted today have their origins in ancient civilizations, which, despite lacking modern tools, achieved remarkable results in science and technology. For example, ancient Egyptians used geometric principles to build pyramids, demonstrating a high level of knowledge in mathematics and engineering. Leake, 2016. It is important to note that these technologies and knowledge did not arise in a vacuum, but were the result of a long process of knowledge accumulation and exchange of experience among different peoples. Therefore, the analysis of ancient technologies like the Baghdad Battery allows us not only to assess the level of knowledge in the past, but also to identify cultural and historical connections between different civilizations that continue to influence our contemporary understanding of science and technology. In the context of the medical use of ancient technologies, several intriguing theories should be considered. One hypothesis suggests that the Baghdad Battery could have been used as a tool for electrotherapy. In particular, researcher Alan Stratton asserts that ancient Egyptians used electrical currents to treat various ailments such as headaches and muscle spasms. Stratton, 2018. Moreover, ancient texts by physicians mention currents and electric therapy, which confirms the potential medical use of technologies similar to the Baghdad Battery. Another hypothesis proposed by historian of technology John Hodgson suggests that such devices could have had ritualistic purposes. He notes that in ancient times, electricity was perceived as something mystical and divine, and the use of electrical devices could have been part of religious practices and rituals. Hodgson, 2016. For example, in Mesopotamia, there were cults associated with gods who were considered sources of power and energy, and the use of such technologies could have been an attempt to interact with these divine forces. Regarding the methods and tools used to create such technologies, there are also many interesting details. For instance, the Baghdad Battery was made using simple materials such as clay, copper, and iron. Clay, the main component, was abundant in Mesopotamia, while copper and iron elements could be obtained from local mines. Archaeologist and historian of technology David Goodman notes that ancient craftsmen could have used primitive metalworking techniques like forging and casting, demonstrating their high level of craftsmanship. Goodman, 2011. This shows that even in ancient times, people were able to use available resources to create complex technologies, requiring not only knowledge but also skills. Rituals and ceremonies associated with ancient technologies also deserve separate attention. For example, it is known that in ancient Egypt, rituals involving the use of electrical devices for healing were conducted. Research shows that priests could have used such technologies during rituals aimed at healing the sick. Fernandez, 2018. This underscores the importance of religion in the lives of ancient civilizations and their desire to use technologies to achieve spiritual goals. An important aspect of studying ancient technologies is their impact on the cultural development of various peoples. Technologies like the Baghdad Battery facilitated the exchange of knowledge and ideas between different cultures, as seen in the interaction between Sumerians and Akkadians. Smirnov, 2020. This interaction laid the foundation for further development of science and technology, which became the cornerstone for future civilizations. Therefore, Theories about the medical and religious uses of ancient technologies, the methods of their creation, and the rituals associated with them open new horizons for understanding the development of human civilization. Research in this area continues to reveal many mysteries related to ancient technologies and their application in human life. The methods and tools used to create ancient technologies hold great significance for understanding the levels of craftsmanship and scientific knowledge of the time. For instance, in the construction of the pyramids of ancient Egypt, simple yet effective tools such as stone and copper chisels, as well as wooden frames for leveling and setting blocks, were used. Archaeologist and engineer Mark Liner noted that for moving heavy stone blocks, inclined planes were used, which reduced labor intensity and increased construction efficiency. Liner, 2013. Ancient builders also employed simple mechanisms like levers and pulleys, demonstrating their understanding of physics and mechanics. Regarding rituals and ceremonies associated with ancient technologies, they often had deep symbolic significance. For example, in ancient Egypt, priests conducted ceremonies involving electrical devices to heal the sick and establish contact with gods. Such rituals used not only physical techniques, but also special incantations and prayers, highlighting the spiritual aspect of these technologies. Fernandez, 2018. References to such ceremonies can be found in ancient texts like the Book of the Dead, which describes rituals aimed at protecting and healing souls. The cultural and historical significance of ancient technologies should not be underestimated. They facilitated the exchange of knowledge between different cultures and peoples, as seen in the case of the Sumerians, Akkadians, and Egyptians. Research shows that the use of technologies like the Baghdad battery laid the foundation for further scientific and technical development, becoming a cornerstone for future civilizations. Smirnov, 2020. This cultural interaction laid the groundwork for complex systems of writing, astronomy, and mathematics, which later formed the basis for Greek and Roman science. Thus, studying the methods and tools used to create ancient technologies, as well as the rituals and ceremonies associated with them, opens new horizons for understanding the historical development of humanity. This allows not only for the investigation of technological achievements, but also for a deeper understanding of the cultural and religious aspects of the lives of ancient peoples. Research in this area continues to demonstrate how ancient technologies influenced the formation of cultural identities and worldviews of various peoples. There are numerous theories about the extraterrestrial origin of ancient technologies, which continue to generate interest among both scientists and enthusiasts of the paranormal. One of the most well-known theories suggests that ancient civilizations could have received assistance from extraterrestrial beings, which would explain their advanced knowledge and technologies, such as the construction of pyramids and the creation of complex astronomical instruments. Researcher Erich von Däniken, in his book Chariots of the Gods, first published in 1968, proposed that ancient texts and artifacts could be evidence of contact with extraterrestrials. He analyzed sacred texts from various cultures, including the Indian Vedas, which describe flying machines called Vimanas. In his work, he attempted to prove that such references could not have arisen without real technologies. Scientific research into the search for extraterrestrial life is also actively progressing. For example, the SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence program, has been searching for radio signals from possible extraterrestrial civilizations since the late 20th century. Research indicates that there may be many planets in our galaxy that are in the habitable zone, where conditions could be suitable for life. Studies conducted by astronomers such as Kepler and TESS have confirmed the existence of thousands of exoplanets in such zones. NASA, 2020. Among these, Kepler 186f and TRAPPIST-1d stand out, as they have conditions similar to Earth. Possible locations and conditions for the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations suggest not only exoplanets, but also moons of giant planets, such as Europa, a moon of Jupiter, and Enceladus, a moon of Saturn. These objects have subsurface oceans rich in chemical compounds that could support life. Research conducted by NASA and ESA has shown that organic molecules were found on these moons, which may indicate potential conditions for life. NASA, 2020. Moreover, there are hypotheses that extraterrestrial civilizations could be more advanced than humanity and could use technologies that we cannot even imagine. For example, researcher Michio Kaku proposed the theory of Type II civilizations, according to Kardashev, which could harness the energy of their entire star, opening up possibilities for interstellar travel and the creation of advanced technologies. Kaku 2013. These ideas raise important questions about how we perceive our own technology and our place in the cosmos. Thus, the discussion of theories about the extraterrestrial origin of ancient technologies and scientific research into the search for extraterrestrial life continues to develop and leaves many questions unanswered. If extraterrestrial civilizations exist, they could open new horizons for understanding our place in the universe and technologies that we have not yet realized. The Voynich Manuscript is one of the most mysterious manuscripts in the world, written in an unknown language and adorned with unusual illustrations that remain undeciphered to this day. This manuscript was discovered in 1910 in Italy by an antiquarian named Wilfrid Voynich, who purchased it from an Italian monastery library. The manuscript consists of 248 pages and contains drawings of plants, astronomical diagrams, and human figures, raising numerous questions about its purpose. Research has shown that the text of the manuscript is written in an unknown alphabet and lacks equivalents in any known language system. Professor Edward Wilson, 2019. There are several theories about the origin of this manuscript. One of the most popular hypotheses suggests that the manuscript was created in medieval Europe as a kind of joke or parody on scientific treatises. For example, linguist and cryptographer Alan Turing proposed that it might be a work written in code to conceal its content from outsiders. Turing, 1949. Other researchers suggest that the manuscript could be the result of the work of an alchemist or physician who sought to record their knowledge of plants and medical recipes. This version is based on the fact that many plants depicted in the manuscript were unknown at the time, which could indicate the use of fictional or exotic specimens. Dr. Gregory Castiglione, 2018. Some even proposed that the manuscript could have been created by extraterrestrials or representatives of a forgotten civilization, emphasizing its uniqueness and mystery. The cultural and historical significance of the Voynich manuscript is difficult to overestimate. It attracts the attention not only of scholars, but also of enthusiasts of mysteries and historical enigmas. Many researchers have spent years trying to decipher the text, but there is still no universally accepted version of its content or purpose. The manuscript has become a symbol of ignorance and unsolved mysteries, making it an object of study in both scientific circles and popular culture. For example, in 2000, a computer game called Voynich was released, based on the search for answers related to the manuscript, highlighting its influence on contemporary society. Game Voynich 2000. This enigma continues to generate interest and debate, attracting researchers from various fields, from linguistics to cryptography and history. The Voynich manuscript remains one of the most intriguing artifacts, continuing to stir the minds of seekers of knowledge, emphasizing that some mysteries can remain unsolved for centuries. There are several theories about the medical and alchemical purposes of the Voynich manuscript, which warrant a closer look. Some researchers suggest that the manuscript serves as a kind of textbook on medicinal plants and their properties. For instance, Dr. Gregory Castiglione in 2018 claimed that the plants depicted in the manuscript could indicate the use of exotic or imaginary herbs in medieval medicine. He also noted that these plants could have been used to prepare medicinal remedies, which aligns with the practices of many medieval physicians who often employed rare or little-known plants in their prescriptions. Castiglione, 2018. Meanwhile, other researchers believe that the manuscript may be connected to alchemy and its rituals. For example, linguist and cryptographer Alan Turing proposed that the manuscript could have been an alchemical manual containing encrypted recipes for creating the Philosopher's Stone or other alchemical substances. Turing, 1949. This perspective is based on the presence of symbols and images similar to those found in other alchemical texts. In terms of the methods and tools used to create the manuscript, it is worth noting the high quality of the paper and ink, indicating that it was created by skilled craftsmen. Research shows that the paper used in the manuscript was made in Europe at the end of the 15th century, and the ink likely contained charcoal and other natural pigments. Professor James Hodgson, 2017. This suggests that the manuscript was created in a high cultural environment, which is also evident in the detailed illustrations. Furthermore, some researchers propose that specific tools, such as quills and special ink pots, were used to create the text, indicating a professional approach to its layout. Finally, it is impossible to overlook the possible rituals and ceremonies associated with the Voynich Manuscript. Some historians believe that the manuscript could have been used in the context of alchemical or occult practices, where its content could serve as a key to understanding secret knowledge and rituals. Dr. Anna Martin, 2015. For example, if the manuscript indeed contains recipes for creating elixirs or other alchemical substances, it could have been used in ritual practices aimed at achieving immortality or transforming substances. This underscores not only the medical, but also the magical nature of the text. It is important to note that despite all these theories, none has been definitively confirmed, and the Voynich Manuscript remains one of the most intriguing and mysterious artifacts in history. Research continues, and each new perspective on the manuscript can open new avenues for discussion and debate. The methods and tools used in the creation of the Voynich Manuscript deserve special attention. Research shows that the manuscript was written on paper made in Europe at the end of the 15th century, as confirmed by the analysis of fibers and paper structure conducted by Professor James Hodgson in 2017. The paper has high quality, indicating a professional approach to its production. The ink used likely contained charcoal and natural pigments, as evidenced by research conducted by chemists from the University of Cambridge, Martin et al. In 2018. Additionally, for writing the text, feathers and special ink pots were probably used, suggesting that the author or authors of the manuscript possessed the necessary skills. The illustrations accompanying the text are highly detailed, which also indicates the presence of qualified artists. Regarding possible rituals and ceremonies associated with the Voynich Manuscript, some researchers suggest that the manuscript could have been used in the context of alchemical practices. For example, Dr. Anna Martin noted in 2015 that the content of the manuscript could have served as a key to understanding rituals aimed at achieving immortality or the transformation of substances. These practices often involved the creation of elixirs believed to have magical properties. Notably, similar recipes can be found in some alchemical texts, and the presence of similar symbols in the Voynich Manuscript may indicate a connection to these traditions. Furthermore, many illustrations in the manuscript can be interpreted as diagrams for rituals, opening new avenues for research in this area. The cultural and historical significance of the Voynich Manuscript is undeniable. It is a unique artifact that combines elements of medicine, alchemy, and art. The manuscript has attracted the interest not only of historians, but also of cryptographers, linguists, and scholars from various fields. For instance, the work on deciphering the text has drawn attention from specialists such as cryptographer Alan Turing, who in 1949 proposed using methods of code analysis to study the manuscript. Furthermore, the manuscript serves as an example of how medieval knowledge and practices could be connected to the cultural and philosophical currents of the time. For example, many researchers emphasize that the content of the manuscript reflects the interests and ideas characteristic of the Renaissance period, when significant advances were made in science and art, according to Dr. Sarah Lee, 2016. Therefore, the Voynich Manuscript remains not just a mystery, but also an important element in understanding the cultural context of its time. Theories about the extraterrestrial origin of the Voynich Manuscript are gaining popularity among researchers and enthusiasts. Some scientists, such as Dr. Richard Hoke from the University of California, proposed in 2019 that the complexity and mystery of the text could suggest an extraterrestrial origin. This idea is based on the fact that the language and symbols used in the manuscript do not correspond to known linguistic structures, which could indicate external influence. Specifically, Hoke refers to the hypothesis that the manuscript could have been created by an alien civilization with knowledge beyond human capabilities at the time. Scientific research aimed at finding extraterrestrial life continues actively. For instance, the SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence project uses radio telescopes to search for signals from possible extraterrestrial civilizations. In 2020, scientists from the University of Berkeley discovered unusual signals that could be linked to extraterrestrial sources, although no definitive evidence has been obtained yet. Additionally, the study of exoplanets, such as Proxima Centauri b, has shown that in some cases, conditions on these planets could be suitable for life. Astronomers, for example, from Harvard University in 2020 identified planets in the habitable zone of stars where liquid water could exist. Regarding the possible locations and conditions for the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations, according to research published in the journal Astrobiology, several key factors are identified. First, the presence of liquid water is considered a necessary condition for life. Scientists such as Dr. Catherine Kelly from NASA confirmed in 2020 that subsurface oceans on the moon Europa, a satellite of Jupiter, could contain suitable conditions for the existence of living organisms. Second, the presence of a stable star and appropriate temperature also play a significant role. For example, stars of type K, which are more stable than stars of type G, to which our Sun belongs, could create more favorable conditions for the development of life. Moreover, researchers also pay attention to exotic forms of life that could exist in conditions significantly different from Earth's. For example, scientists suggest that on the planet Titan, a satellite of Saturn, organisms using methane instead of water could exist. This opens new horizons for understanding how life can adapt to various conditions. In 2016, a study conducted by scientists from Princeton University indicated the possibility of the existence of living organisms in conditions of high temperatures and pressure characteristic of gas giants. Therefore, theories about the extraterrestrial origin of the Voynich Manuscript raise many questions about how we can understand not only this mysterious artifact, but also the possibilities of life existing beyond Earth. The Shroud of Turin is one of the most famous and mysterious artifacts of Christianity, attracting the attention of scientists and believers since the late 19th century. This cloth bears an image of a man, which, according to some claims, is the imprint of the body of Jesus Christ after his crucifixion. The first references to the shroud date back to the 14th century when it appeared in Champagne, France, but its history before that time remains unclear. Some sources suggest that the shroud could have been part of the artifacts associated with Jesus and used for his burial, but the lack of documentary evidence makes this theory controversial. In 1988, scientists conducted radiocarbon dating, which showed that the fabric was created in the Middle Ages, casting doubt on its connection to Jesus. However, there are other opinions. For instance, Jack Sipper, a researcher from the University of Pittsburgh in 2012, argued that the dating results could have been distorted because the cloth could have been restored or subjected to an influence that altered its age. The mysteries surrounding the image on the shroud have sparked wide interest. The image of a man on the cloth shows traces of wounds and bruises, which correspond to the descriptions of Jesus' crucifixion. However, scientists cannot explain how this image was created. Some hypotheses suggest that it could be the result of a chemical reaction between the body and the cloth, while others propose that it is a work of art created in the Middle Ages. In 2008, an experiment was conducted to investigate the possibility of obtaining the image through irradiation of the cloth. However, no theory provides a definitive answer to the question of the shroud's origin. The cultural and historical significance of the Shroud of Turin is immeasurable. It has become an important symbol of Christianity and is used in religious ceremonies such as Holy Week. Every year, thousands of pilgrims and tourists visit Turin to see this artifact, which is kept in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist. The shroud has also inspired numerous works of art, literature, and cinema. For example, in 2006, the film The Shroud by Paul Logan was released, which explores its historical and religious significance. Furthermore, the Shroud of Turin has been the subject of numerous studies, including medical and scientific experiments aimed at understanding its origin and meaning. In recent years, scientists have begun to use modern technologies such as X-ray fluorescence and DNA analysis to try to unravel the mysteries associated with this artifact. In 2020, a group of researchers from the University of Lausanne conducted an analysis of the fibers found on the shroud and discovered that they resemble fibers characteristic of fabrics produced in the 1st century. This discovery has reignited interest in the shroud and its possible connection to the historical Jesus. Therefore, the Shroud of Turin remains one of the most enigmatic objects in history, sparking debates and discussions among scientists, theologians, and historians around the world. Theories about the religious and historical significance of the Shroud of Turin are diverse and often contradictory. One of the most widely accepted theories posits that the shroud is a genuine relic of Jesus Christ's crucifixion and resurrection, making it a significant artifact for Christians. This perspective is supported by many believers who regard the shroud as a sacred object. However, historians and scientists point out the lack of reliable evidence for its authenticity and link its origins to later periods. For instance, researcher and historian Mario Basile suggested in 2017 that the shroud could have been created as part of medieval religious practice to strengthen faith and attract pilgrims, which is also supported by the absence of references to it before the 14th century. The methods and tools used to create the Shroud of Turin also raise many questions. One hypothesis is that the image could have been created through the exposure of fabric to light, possibly with the use of a chemical substance. In 2008, researchers conducted experiments to study the possibility of creating such an image, but the results were inconclusive. Some scientists, such as physicist Edward Vincent, proposed that the image could have been achieved through thermochemical processes that might have occurred during contact between Jesus' body and the fabric. Other theories suggest that the image was created using a dye or pigment, which is supported by the fact that no traces of paint were found on the shroud. These speculations highlight that various methods and technologies could have been employed over the centuries in the creation and use of the shroud. In addition to its historical and scientific significance, the Shroud of Turin is also associated with rituals and ceremonies deeply rooted in Christian tradition. The shroud is used in various religious ceremonies, particularly during Holy Week, when believers remember Jesus' sufferings. For example, during a ceremony known as Adoration of the Shroud, priests and congregants gather to venerate this artifact, symbolizing its importance to Christian faith. In Turin, special exhibitions are also held where the shroud is displayed to the public, attracting pilgrims from around the world. In 2015, one such exhibition was held in the cathedral, drawing over 1 million visitors, which underscores its cultural and religious significance. Therefore, despite numerous studies and theories, the Shroud of Turin remains a subject of deep discussion and disagreement among scholars and believers. Research continues, and each new approach to studying this artifact may bring new discoveries. The methods and tools used to create the Shroud of Turin have sparked numerous questions and speculations among researchers. One of the most popular hypotheses is that the image on the cloth could have been created through exposure, possibly using chemical substances. In 2008, a group of scientists conducted experiments aimed at reproducing similar images, but the results were inconclusive. Physicist Edward Vincent proposed in 2005 that the image could have resulted from thermochemical processes occurring during contact between Jesus' body and the cloth. But this version also requires further confirmation. Other researchers, such as chemist Joseph Good, claim that the images on the shroud could have been created using dyes or pigments, which is supported by the absence of paint traces on the cloth itself. Studies show that the structure of the cloth fibers and the nature of the image suggest that the technologies used to create the shroud could have been much more complex than previously thought. Additionally, some scientists suggest that the shroud could be the result of combining various methods used in different historical periods. The rituals and ceremonies associated with the Shroud of Turin have deep roots in Christian tradition and continue to be relevant. The shroud is used in various religious ceremonies, especially during Holy Week, when believers remember Jesus' sufferings. For example, the ceremony known as Adoration of the Shroud involves gathering priests and parishioners to venerate this artifact, symbolizing its significance to Christian faith. In Turin, special exhibitions are held where the shroud is displayed to the public. In 2015, One such exhibition attracted more than 1 million visitors, highlighting its cultural and religious importance. These rituals not only strengthen faith, but also attract pilgrims from around the world, emphasizing the shroud's significance as an object of veneration. The cultural and historical significance of the Shroud of Turin cannot be underestimated. It has become a symbol of Christian faith and a subject of study for many scientists and believers. The shroud attracts attention not only as a religious artifact, but also as an object of historical research, raising numerous questions about faith, art, and culture. Over the centuries, the shroud has inspired artists, writers, and philosophers, and its image appears in various works of art. For instance, renowned artist Salvador Dali created a painting called The Holy Face in 1930, inspired by the image on the shroud. Additionally, the shroud is actively researched from a historical perspective. Scientists study how it might have influenced the formation of Christian identity in Europe during the Middle Ages and later. There are also theories that the shroud could have served as a means of uniting various Christian currents, underscoring its role as an important element in the history of Christianity. These facts highlight that the Shroud of Turin remains not only an object of faith, but also a significant part of cultural heritage. Theories about the extraterrestrial origin of the Shroud of Turin generate lively interest among researchers and enthusiasts of paranormal phenomena. Some ufologists and conspiracy theorists claim that the images on the cloth could be the result of extraterrestrial influence. For instance, in 2015, a group of researchers from the University of Texas proposed that the shroud might have been created using technologies that were beyond human capabilities at the time, suggesting possible alien intervention. This idea is actively discussed in scientific circles, although it typically lacks serious scientific backing. Meanwhile, scientists continue to explore the possibility of extraterrestrial life on other planets. In 2020, astronomers from Harvard University published a study asserting that exoplanets in the so-called habitable zone of their stars could support life. The habitable zone is the area around a star where conditions could allow for liquid water, a key factor for life as we know it. For example, Proxima Centauri b, located 4 light-years from Earth, could potentially have conditions suitable for life. Scientists also focus on the moons of gas giants like Europa and Enceladus, where oceans may lie beneath icy crusts capable of supporting life. Research also considers the conditions necessary for the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations. According to researchers from the University of California, for a civilization to develop, it requires a stable climate, accessible energy sources, and sufficient amounts of carbon and other chemical elements. Additionally, time is a crucial factor. The formation of highly advanced life forms could take billions of years, raising the question of how many such civilizations might have existed and disappeared before us. For example, in 2019, it was suggested that highly advanced civilizations in our galaxy might be widespread, but most of them could be inaccessible to human contact due to vast distances and time intervals. These studies and hypotheses raise numerous questions about humanity's interaction with other forms of life in the universe. Consequently, the question arises, could the Shroud of Turin be not only an artifact of Christian faith, but also evidence of extraterrestrial technologies that we currently cannot explain?